What is up, IVE Warriors? It's your boy Edward V, and today we're going to talk about when intermittent fasting, what can you drink? Now, of course, I'm going to remove any of my bias and I'm going to give you the facts, the data, and explain what consists of a broken fast, if it stops you from burning body fat, and if it's going to be a negative effect to you. Stay tuned. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few things when it comes to what you can drink. Now, I know that there are a plethora of things out there to choose from to drink, and I can't pick every single thing out. I'm going to try to get the most popular things that one may want to drink when intermittent fasting and then try to tackle those items. Now, of course, everyone should know anything that has sugar, carbs will increase your insulin, and as soon as your insulin goes up, that will take you out of being in a fasted state. Depending on how many calories, it may not go up as high, so it'll go down very quickly and continue your fasted state. So, for example, if something has 10 calories, but it's 10 calories of carbohydrates, then it will raise your insulin up, but very slight, as it is only 10 calories of carbohydrates. The lower the calories, the better. The first thing I want to tackle is seltzer water, basically. It's water that has pockets of air. And these pockets of air create that seltzer sensation in your mouth. Now, we're not talking about flavored seltzer water. We're talking about normal seltzer water. Seltzer water is actually really fine, perfectly fine, because seltzer water has nothing in it. It doesn't have any sugar, carbohydrates inside of it, so it's not going to raise your insulin, and it's not going to affect you at all. So yes, you can drink seltzer water, and of course you can drink water, and I do have a video of breaking down water specifically and which waters are better than others if you want to watch that. But yes, water, because there's no calories in it, there's no carbohydrates in it. If you're drinking that and thinking to yourself, this seltzery feeling, is this breaking my fast? It's not breaking your fast, so you can go ahead and drink your seltzer water without an issue. Now let's move on to other things that people like to use. Just so you know, sugar is carbohydrates. So anything that contains sugar will increase your insulin. But you also want to understand what you're giving up to not increase your insulin and what can happen to you if you choose something else. And that can be artificial sweeteners. Now, the way artificial sweeteners work is that they actually are not sugar or carbs at all and can contain 0 calories, which seems amazing. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, how are they sweet if they contain no calories and they're not sugar and they're not carbohydrates? It's literally a con to your taste buds. It's a trick. What it does is that it simply just activates the sweet tasting receptors in your tongue. It's like a chemical, it's a synthetic chemical that can activate the sweet taste buds in your tongue to make you think that what you're consuming is sweet, but it isn't. It really isn't. Now, because of that, a lot of people say, well, it doesn't raise your insulin. But the thing is, the body is much more complex than that, and the body actually is proactive. With the taste buds that you have in your mouth, with the actual receptors, there are also receptors in your stomach as well, in your intestines. 2 receptors to be exact. The gustacine is one of them in your intestines, and the other one is the T1R3. And they work together. The taste buds in your tongue as well as those receptors in your stomach literally work as a team. The moment your tongue receives a signal that you have something sweet in your mouth, the receptors down here release insulin. Yes, they then at that point release your insulin, but then your insulin notices that there isn't any carbohydrates to move. So your insulin shoots up, and what it does is that any excess carbohydrates that it has in your body, your insulin literally goes up and says, okay, I'm here to do a job and I'm gonna do my job regardless if they're not consuming carbohydrates at this moment. It will grab any excess carbohydrates in your body, which is basically your glycogen storages, and move them into storing it as body fat. Yes, it will take your glycogen and it will put it in your body as body fat. And it does this because it has to perform its job when it gets shot up. So although you're tricking your tongue and you're tricking your stomach to believe that you're eating something sweet when you're not, your insulin is not going to play that. Your insulin is still going to grab some glucose from somewhere. Now, you're not putting any excess calories in you, so you're not increasing your weight from excess calories, but you are storing more body fat, and that's counterproductive to intermittent fasting. You don't want to do that because you want to burn body body fat. You want to be consistently burning body fat as much as possible when intermittent fasting. Well, there's a lot of theories to why your body is so sensitive to tasting sweet things, and that goes back to the time of feast and famine, when finding fruits and berries was very, very rare. It wasn't as predominant as it is now. So when someone found it, the body was very, very sensitive to making sure that they stored all of that as energy, just in case they didn't find these macronutrients for a while. So they would store it, and that's the reason why your body stores carbohydrates so much as body fat and tries to move it around, puts it on top of your muscles as glycogen. They do this because they want to keep it in your body as much as possible. What we're trying to do with intermittent fasting is remove that from our bodies as much as possible. Artificial sweeteners, which is Splenda and all these things, will raise your insulin because it will trick your body to raise its insulin, and then it will grab glycogen stores and store them as body fat. So you want to be very careful with any type of artificial sweetener. And then there's even the controversial artificial sweetener, which is basically in every single product of an artificial sweetener, which is aspartame. And aspartame has a controversial history that I'll let you guys dive deeper into if you want, because this is not really related to if you're breaking your fast or not. But just to give you a quick synopsis of it, back in 1974 to about early 1980s, the FDA's most contested approval of any consumption product in history was aspartame, because there were Japanese studies that showed aspartame actually can create brain tumors if consumed. And then there was other toxic elements that are connected to aspartame, and aspartame is basically in everything. It's in all the diet sodas, it's in everything you see that says sugar-free this, sugar-free that. It's in the chewing gum, so if it's like sugar-free chewing gum, there's aspartame. So aspartame is in a lot of products. So with that knowledge and understanding that controversy, there's even aspartame detoxification programs, because people feel like side effects from aspartame and stuff like that, like dizziness and all these things. The list is like incredibly long of all the items that contain aspartame. There's conspiracy theories and everything with the people who worked in the FDA approving it, then working for the companies that put aspartame in the system and work with aspartame. So that's a whole different story. That's aspartame's own, that could be a documentary on its own. I've never seen that documentary, but that could be a documentary. But like I said, I'm going to leave that information up to you to do further research. That is not related to weight loss, but it is related to you being healthy. Now you guys are thinking, wow, I literally just chopped off an entire group. Diet sodas, Splenda sugar, all these things. But what about natural sweeteners? Now, a natural sweetener is not a sugar. Sugar is a carbohydrate, and it creates a sweet taste. It's not tricking your taste buds. Artificial sweeteners do that, but natural sweetener does that as well. Stevia. Stevia is the natural sweetener. It's actually an herb. You can grow it yourself if you like, and then they chop it up. They do whatever to make it look sugary, to make it look like sugar. But stevia is a natural sweetener, and with stevia it does the same thing. It tricks your tongue and it tricks your T1R3 and gustacine to think that you are consuming something that's sugary, but you're not. It's just activating the receptors, so you get that sensation of something being sugary and your body reacts accordingly. But there are studies that actually show that it increases insulin sensitivity, but there are studies that show that it's increased some insulin in your body. There are other mixed studies that say it doesn't. There's no definitive study for stevia, so just take that into account. If you're going to use stevia, there isn't anything definitive. There's no study that you can grab onto and say, look, this is exactly what it does, because for every mini kind of study that they have, there is another one that does a drastic difference to that one, which shows that there's not much definitive evidence for it. It looks or appears to be that stevia is literally a case-by-case basis on your own body. It's going to be really difficult to know if you specifically have any negative effects from stevia. You have to test your insulin release in your body. Your blood sugar is not going to tell you anything, because both artificial and natural sweeteners will not raise your blood sugar level, but can still release insulin. But because stevia is a natural and not a synthetic chemical, it may have different effects on your body. Your insulin may continue to keep going up and keep noticing that there is no sugar in your body and no glucose or carbohydrates, and actually become more sensitive because of that. So basically what you're doing is you're dulling it down. So when you actually do consume something that's sugary, your body thinks that it's not really sugar, so it's not really quick to react, and it reacts really slowly and not as aggressively. So you actually can become a little bit more insulin sensitive, and that is based on that study that was done for the stevia. But like I said, it might be case by case. Every single person in regards to stevia literally might be completely different. That's why all the studies are mixed and nothing is definitive when it comes to that. And I want to thank my patrons for my Patreon, and I'm going to put their names right up here. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday for another FAQ. Peace!